Welcome to the Hookup on Music with your host, Tony Bird.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 137. I am sorry, episode 136, just a couple days ago, kind of got cut off there at the end. So we're back with episode 137 to fill in the blanks, give you some new goods, old goods, all-around goods. Up until tomorrow night, we will have, which is Tuesday, December 23rd, we will be having Mike Griffith on the show to talk about some of our favorite albums of the year. So please tune into that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It just shows that I got to check at the end of these recordings, do I have everything together? And in the new year, that is going to be something definitely I'm going to make sure I spend extra definite care on. But it's still glad to be back here again. Like I said, our goal is to get to 140 by the end of the year. So we have some time left here. We have about 9 more days, give or take, to get the 3 episodes in. So we'll have one tomorrow, which will leave 2 more. So please tune in to all of that. I'm excited to always talk music with you. Again, I am Tony B, and this is the Hookup on Music. And welcome to episode number 137. We are chugging along here. What I was saying last night before I was crazily interrupted by internet issues was that the band, the Prodigy, really, really good band. The members are Liam Howlett, Maxim, Keith Flint, Leroy Thornhill. I also stated that we were talking a little earlier in the episode about Tool a little bit, stating that they played with Tool at the Open Air Festival in Chicago within the last 7-8 years. So it's really kind of cool to get that. After their debut, the band had moved on from their rave roots and incorporated a little bit more of a techno backbeat on their second album, Music for the Jilted Generation from 1994. Kind of crazy, though, is that the Prodigy are the most successful electronic groups of all time, selling an estimated 25 million records. Very interesting, including 4.7 million albums in the UK. They have scored 7 consecutive UK number 1 albums. They have many awards during their career, Brit Awards for Best Dance Albums, also Video Music Awards from the MTV and MTV Europe, 3 from regular MTV and 5 from MTV Europe, and 2 Grammy nominations. Very interesting is that what I was going to talk about is their album Fat of the Land. Liam Howlett stated that the album was for the fans. Only brainless people get some stupid message out of it. I'm often misquoted. Some magazine said Liam Howlett says his band are dangerous. What I said was, for this band to survive, it has to be dangerous for us. I wasn't saying we were dangerous because we're fire starters and have spiky hair. Very interesting. Keith Flint, one of the band members, had spiky hair and definitely was very memorable for them. Sadly, he passed away. So currently, the only members who are still in the band are Liam Howlett and Maxim. Liam Howlett pretty much is the main songwriter. Checking into the Fat of the Land, which was what we were going to discuss on that last show, leading the album off is Smack My Bitch Up, which gained some controversy when it was released. The controversy was pushed aside by the band, stating that the things that people were saying about the song were not true. Breathe was the first song that I was introduced to by the band. Very awesome piece of music there. Diesel Power featuring Cool Keith, Funky Shit, Surreal Thriller, Minefields, Narian. Firestarter is the one that definitely gets the most play, I would say. Climatize and Fuel for My Fire, L7 cover featuring Saffron. But just again, wanted to point out the interestingness of this band as a whole. Really good stuff. Really, really good technique. The album cover is amazing. That's why we used it on the last episode, just kind of showing everyone how awesome Prodigy really is in this kind of department of music. If it has been a while since you've listened to The Fat of the Land or Music for the Jilted Generation or anything by the Prodigy, please share with us your thoughts, what some of your favorites are in the comments. We would definitely appreciate it. Love hearing new music. Maybe I missed something. Always good to hear from you out there. And as I stated, tomorrow night we're going to be live talking some really cool albums of the year. So please tune into that at 7 p.m. on the Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel. Um, let's continue down the path of what I have next up for us here today. Just recently, this past, well, I'd say pretty recent, is the I'm sorry here. I'm still thinking about just you should see sometimes when you're working on a show like this and you figure out that everything's been posted and you miss out on those last 3 minutes. It's just really, really ridiculous. Sometimes what you see and the reactions um, to it. But recently, stopping in at the Salt Shed was the band Acid Bath, who definitely members still present from the original incarnation back in 1991 to 1997 is Dax Riggs on lead vocals, Sammy Pierre Douay on guitars and backing vocals, and Mike Sanchez on guitars. Shane Wesley on bass and Zach Simmons on drums. Make up whatever else is going down in the band, which is pure rock. Um, really kind of cool little show that they put on. Really cool that a band who's been kind of gone for a long time can come back and garner such respect from people who are looking and hopefully to hear them. I mean, they play to coming out to Black Sabbath, which is really cool to use that as a song to come out on stage to. But they kick off the set with Tranquilized, which, to be fair, isn't a band that I've listened to super a lot until recently. And Tranquilized is really, really awesome. Bleed Me an Ocean, then to Venus Blue, then The Bones of Baby Dolls, then into The Dead Girl, and then Old Skin, which is played kind of like on a with a video being played. New Death Sensation, Greyflower, Scream of the Butterfly, Pagan Love Song, and wrapping up this awesome concert was Dr. Seuss is Dead, which is crazy because I was just watching The Grinch That Stole Christmas. But Dax Riggs has a really awesome delivery. Some people may not be as hip to their sound because it does slow down a little bit and it does kind of give you a vibe of gloom and slow and sludgy, which is awesome here at the Hookup on Music. But you may not be a fan of slow and sludgy, which could be a possibility. So very interesting to see what you think in that regard to something along those lines. Opening up the show though was High on Fire, which Burning Down, Fertile Green, Rumor of War, Hung, Drawn, Quartered, Fury Whip, Snakes of the Divine, and Darker Fleece all being showcased in their set, with Weed Eater opening up the whole entire affair at the Salt Shed. Was packed. People were rocking. People were getting down. And honestly, what a good time of the season to do that. It's always good when we are listening to good tunes and rocking and rolling out in many different degrees, to be frankly honest with you. December 12th was only 10 days ago. So you say after a show like that, wow, that's crazy. That's insane. We need more of it. So that was the last show that just happened at the Salt Shed. So interesting 2 weeks, a 10-day layoff out there, getting probably picking the pieces up from that awesome show. Um, some bits of news here before we move on to the next piece. Um, Sean Lennon is afraid that future generations are going to forget about the Beatles. At first, I heard this and I thought, "You're crazy." And then sometimes I'm looking at what some of the younger generation are listening to, and could it be possible? Could the Beatles be done forever? People listening to? I mean, that is I guess their idea of that. Also, I find to be often ridiculous is when bands decide to say, "Hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're going to, how do I say this? We're going to take a song that rocks and we're going to flip it on its head where it is more country orientated." And honestly, Rat has decided to do this with the song Round and Round, song that's been out, you know, over 40 years. And we're going to be messing around with that. I'm not too sure about that. Um, but that's just really interesting. And also very interesting is blasting past members in bands. Some artists who have been with the band the full time decide to blast members who have not been in the band quite in some time. I find that to be ridiculous. You can just pretty much plug in that scenario pretty much into majority of them for me. But a bit of sad news recently, as I mentioned on the last show, is the passing of Rob Reiner. Rob was huge in the musical department, in my opinion, because of being part of Spinal Tap and the sequel, Spinal Tap 2. So we have been digging deep, celebrating those two releases in honor of Rob, and we've come up with some really interesting information that I wanted to share with you here tonight. Um, Before we keep on rocking and rolling here, did you know in the original Spinal Tap that a lot of different people believe that it was actually a real movie. It was a real documentary on a real band. That's, how good it was. It was also Rob Reiner's, directorial debut, stemming from a sketch idea from the television TV show. Very interesting. Also, the budget, for this movie, um was not very much, to be fair. It was only around $3 million, and it only took in right around $6 million. So about doubled it money. But that being said, is that it took a little while to get off the ground. It was not an immediate hit for Rob and everybody else being Harry Shearer, playing the bass in this, Derek St. Hubbins. And also you got um, the great Michael McKean on lead vocals. Just really awesome, awesome stuff, and awesome band here. And then you know, you could not definitely talk about this at all without mentioning somebody who's very important to the whole entire thing, and that is the great and amazing in just so many different ways, Christopher Guest as Nigel Tufnell, and Harry Shearer as Derek Smalls, and Michael McKean as Derek St. Hubbins. Um, Got them all mixed up, and I was just watching that, both of them, just literally before I came on here. That's what's crazy about a bunch of information. Sometimes it gets all mixed up. But originally, I thought this was interesting, as Rob Reiner was originally supposed to be a character in the movie. Very interesting, with Penelope Spheris originally asked to direct, but Rob did not enjoy the spandex and decided to flip it around a little bit. There's a lot of coincidental stuff in the movie. A lot of people think that it is purposely aimed at Black Sabbath, with other artists aiming that some of the stuff was a little too close to home. Tom Waits and the Edge from U2 cried because they thought it was so real. Very interesting on a movie that was majorly ad-libbed by the cast. When you are, digging into this stuff, very, very interesting. The budget was not very much. It was shot entirely in Los Angeles because of those constraints. Um, and the band members without the accent's voice and the PA announcements. This is very, very interesting stuff. Um, when you dig deep into this stuff, um, you find out things that you just could never believe that were true. And one of them I thought were very interesting was the fact that the movie in Norway is called Help, We're in the Pop Business. Very interesting to hear that in, so many different ways. Um, we were watching part 2 just before coming on here, and I think earlier in an earlier episode this year, kinda dogged it a little bit, but, with the recent sad passing and with us doing this episode, I decided to give it another shot, and the hookup on music is huge for giving things a second chance, a third chance, and finding something awesome in it when you decide to go down that route. Um, always important to do. Always important to be involved with doing something along those lines. So please, even if there's things on this show that you have tuned out, you have no interest in listening to, please give that a chance because you just really don't know sometimes how awesome some of these things are that we're digging into and taking some time out to do it and listen to. You're going to hear some really, really cool stuff. Um, and speaking of really, really cool stuff, it brings us to um, Back in the High Life by Steve Winwood, an album that has been around since June 30th, 1986. Next year, we'll be celebrating 40 years on this planet. Very loaded with a lot of tracks. Some of you might be familiar with is the title track, Higher Love. Um, you also might be familiar with the title track, Back in the High Life. Um, Take It As It Comes is really good too, another single. But some deep cuts really rock on here, like Freedom Overspill, Split Decision, Wake Me Up on Judgment Day. Very, very interesting. The album is the fourth solo album by Steve Winwood. Also huge on the Grammy front. Along with those top 5 hit singles. It was also a Billboard Hot 100 number 1. Coming off 20 years after the first entered the chart with Keep On Running with the Spencer Davis Group. I find that to be very interesting. The Finer Things is definitely a song that sticks in your head and sticks with you. The album is layered with synthesizers, electronic drums, which he established back on Arc of a Diver, another great album with a lot of really good songs. A lot of good backing vocals on this album too by those like Shaka Khan and James Taylor and James Ingram. There is a lot of cool mixture on the album, folk, gospel, and Caribbean mixed with rock, pop, and R&B. Very, very interesting. Winwood recorded this album from August to November in 1986. Find it very interesting how quickly these albums come out versus there was a time when current time where they take 4 or 5 years. But just digging deeper into this album, um, the songwriting is really, really awesome. Um, Winwood wrote his own music and produced the album himself. And he did team up with some other people for some lyrics. He collaborated with Tex and Will Jennings um, on the song "While You See a Chance." Um, Winwood composed 5 more songs, which were really, really huge with Jennings. Jennings carried the phrase "back in the high life," which is interesting because all of this time before doing this episode, I had often thought that he just wrote all these songs. Um, Winwood said about Tino Jennings is we've got absolutely no rules when we work together. Sometimes we start with a lyric, sometimes with the melody. Sometimes we start with chorus and add the verses. And sometimes I write some of the lyrics myself. There are no formulas, things just happen naturally. Very, very interesting and very, very cool. George Fleming is a third returning lyricist. Um, and you may be saying, who is George Fleming? The nephew of, please tune into this show, the James Bond show. We got Shaken Not Stirred. Ian Fleming's nephew, which is interesting, who had written two songs on Ark of the Diver, Secondhand Woman and Dust. Back to our great Shaken and Not Stirred. We go into those soundtracks and talk about those things. Pretty awesome. Just really cool also is just the recording took place at the power station, track recording and giant sound sessions. The timing was right, Winwood said. He got an apartment right off Madison Avenue, right by Central Park Zoo in New York, and definitely started going away at this. There's a conga loop on Back in the High Life, which is cool. Devised on a Roland TR 808, which is very, very interesting. Really, really cool to just hear how some of these tracks and songs go into all this. But after everything, and they settled in with the drum parts, they wanted to bring in a real drummer. Also, which they brought in John J.R. Robinson from the George Benson session to come in and do this. Very interesting stuff. There's a drum roll, the opening drum solo in Higher Love by Robinson. To get it right, choked up on the drumstick and played rim shots and on a Latin music pattern on his brass snare drum. That's interesting to hear. You don't usually hear that. But what you're getting here is that this is no slouch. I mean, he got together with Joe Walsh, who co-wrote Split Decision with Winwood. Joe Walsh also contributed a little bit more to the project. His electric guitar on Split Decision is a wholly unrehearsed performance. His unusual style. Winwood felt challenged to do the same on the synthesizer. So they kind of, Walsh also played slide guitar on Freedom Overspill, which is just a really big jam. Music videos back in the day, I can remember being 4, 5, 6 here, seeing Higher Love. That song never gets old. The Finer Things, Freedom Overspill, Back in the High Life Again, all really cool. What was also cool is the tour for this. Jimmy Cliff opened up out in Detroit at the Pine Knob Music Theater. What an opening act! 8-piece band. James Hooker, who co-wrote Freedom Overspill, continued his role as the keyboardist on this tour. They played in Ohio, Illinois, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Really, really cool. They did the Give Me Some Lovin' because of the Blues Brothers, because of the recent album within the last 4 years. So very, very interesting in all of this. The reception to the album, it was hailed as a superb record. Really, really good, really, really deep, really, really awesome. Also really kind of interesting is Whitney Houston does a cover of the song. Marshall Chapman does a cover of the song. The follow-up album, Roll With It, which would actually surpass Back in the High Life in sales. Very, very interesting, all of that. But just some of those musicians we were talking about on the album are interesting. Andrew Thomas, Robbie Kilgore, Nile Rodgers playing the rhythm guitar on Higher Love and Wake Me Up on Judgment Day. Very, very interesting. Paul Pascal playing guitar on The Finer Things. Steve Ferrone's drums on Freedom Overspill, The Finer Things. His conga playing, memorable forever. Again, though, those Grammy Awards nominated Back in the High Life, nominated Album of the Year. It did win Best Engineered Non-Classical Album. It did win Record of the Year for Higher Love and Pop vocal performance for Higher Love. Very interesting facts there along all of that. The charts were kind to Steve Winwood, and that's why it's so important for this not to ever be forgotten in so many different ways. What a great, great album. Um, I just want to say thank you so much for putting out such a classic. It's always good to release a good classic of an album. Um, Before we dig into a Christmas song of the week, we're going to just recently, Brian May has come out and said that we got a Queen track here called Not For Sale Polar Bear. It was recorded during this 1974 making of the album Queen 2, but dates back all the way to Smile, um, which they know it from the bootleg. It has never been released in any form. He described it as a work in progress that will feature on next year's rebuilt edition of the album. He is keen to hear how listeners respond to its long delayed release. They might hear a bootleg version. It is a song that goes back a long, long time, he said. Um, but he also said that this is mixed in with some other things with his Planet Rock special, which is very interesting. Um, he also hopes everyone has a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year. Thank you, Brian May. Interesting to hear what that would sound like from 1974. Freddie getting down, singing some Christmas tunes. Very, very awesome. Before we get to our last thing here tonight, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate you joining in onto the Hookup on Music. Um, it's never too late to go back and listen to the other 136 episodes before the episode tonight. Listen into everything. We're constantly growing, trying to get better, going to be doing things different in the new year. As I stated, we got a guest tomorrow, a lot more guests to come. Michael Griffith, please. It's going to be great. He is a musical, he's got his own show. He's a DJ, which is awesome. So can't wait to hear what he's picking for albums, songs of the year. Go back and check out the At the Show this past week, where I talked about the soundtrack pick of the week was some Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Meat Wad Christmas. Check into that, which is great because honestly, and also the James Bond series. Please go check that out. Check out It's Getting Drafty in here. But back to that Aqua Teen Hunger Force, they did a cover of the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight, which is Feliz Navidad. I don't know why I thought this song came out like in the 50s, but actually the song was released in 1970 by the amazing Feliciano, Jose Feliciano to be exact. Amazing is the studio. What is remembered again is that he was sitting in the studio and he remembered celebrating Christmas Eve with his brothers, eating traditional Puerto Rican foods, drinking rum, and going caroling. It was expressing the joy that I felt on Christmas and the fact that I felt very lonely. So the song is made out of loneliness. Um, it is very simple, okay? 19 words to it, Feliciano told the New Yorker. I wanted a song that belonged to the masses. If you know where your song is going to go, you don't have to fuck around with it too much. I used to say to myself, joke them if they can't take a fuck. Very interesting way to put Feliciano. And honestly, the song is one of my favorite. Um, to be fairly honest with you, it has been around forever. Um, but it is his first top 10 hit. Um, and it was his first since his cover of The Doors' Light My Fire, which I find to be very interesting. Um, he also released a ska version back in 2017 with Jules Holland. Wow, you can't get that information in too many places, but when you go back and you look at that, this song is still charting on the Billboard Hot 100. It has been around for all of this time, and Jose really knows how to bring it. I definitely have to say, Thank you, Jose, for releasing what I would say to be one of my personal favorite Christmas songs of all time. Um, Always, like I said, why don't you in the comments tell us what some of your favorite Christmas songs of all time are? Can't wait to see what you're up to, listening to. As I stated, we're going to have 3 more episodes to come this year, including one tomorrow night, Tuesday, the 23rd, night before Christmas Eve, talking about some awesome albums of the year with Mike Griffith. Please tune into that. Please go back and check out Shaken and Not Stirred, where we talked about some recent soundtracks where Aha and Duran Duran did the last 2 songs on the last 2 episodes. Go back and listen to At the Show, where we talked about that Meatwad's Christmas, along with movies taking place in the cold. More awesome Rob Reiner memorial in that. Also, go back and check out some really cool recent episodes from It's Getting Drafty in here, and everything else that is on the sadisticpenguinstudios.com and at the Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel. Thank you so much. If you are listening to the podcast, I appreciate it out there. I give you an extra special appreciation because you know what? It's Christmas time. Why not? But we will talk very, very, very soon. Everyone out there, enjoy the rest of your Monday, whatever it is that you are doing. And we'll talk soon with more awesome records. Go back and listen to that Steve Winwood, some Acid Bath, whatever else that we happen to chat about. My name is Tony B. This is the Hookup on Music. Please take care, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Please look out for the audio version wherever you jam.